Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of NVTV. Hey guys, welcome back to NVTV. This week we are here with Matt Bell. Hi Matt, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm doing well. There's a lot going on in the agricultural industry right now, and a lot of people might not know how severe it is and really have a good understanding of what's going on. So in order to provide a little more clarity around that, we wanted to sit down with someone who knows about it and can really provide a little bit more insight. So that's why we're sitting down with Matt. So Matt, before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about what your background is in the ag community?
Yes, Katie. Thanks, and again, thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to talk about this. So my name's Matt Bell. I'm a sixth generation farmer with my family. My kids would be the seventh generation. We live just north of town. We have hogs, row crops. We have a few cattle. It's kind of a hobby more than anything. We're trying to grow it a little bit. We have 10 full-time employees. We have 5 part-time employees. Our hog operation is our main focus. We're part of a larger group called PGI. We all market together. That group is consisted of operators just like ourselves. We market together. We buy inputs together, but we're still separate. So, and our hog operation consists of our operation and then several satellite farms that we call contract growers that help us. Gives them an opportunity to maybe bring another family member in and participate in their own separate operation, and they take care of pigs for us. So I have a wife who's heavily involved in the ag industry. She works for the Ohio Pork Council. My kids are all in 4-H except for the youngest one. My mom was from a farm in Western Ohio, and again, my dad and his family, again, I'm the 6th generation and hope there's a 7th one coming on. So we've grown. We've had the opportunity to grow. We've gotten to a point where we've not wanted to be complacent. My dad and my family and his parents before him have always afforded the opportunity for the next generation to be able to continue on and grow the operation and not be afraid to do different things. And the things we're doing now is definitely not all me, not all. We've got really, really good employees. We've got really, really good partners, and I've got really, really good parents that have always supported financially, emotionally, everything. So it's definitely a family operation, definitely family run. But yes, we do have outside help, employees, contract growers that we rely on that afford us the opportunity to do what we're doing.
Let's just get right into the topic here. So can you tell us about the current struggles that are going on in agriculture right now?
I don't hardly know where to begin.
There's a lot.
Yes, there's a lot. Not that it's things we can't overcome, but there's I think in any business, and the ag business, farm business is no different. There's always struggles. There's always things that will give you fits, but at the same time, when you turn them around, it's an opportunity later on. So I guess the biggest thing right now that we're probably dealing with as a country is our trade issues. President Trump and the administration now has really bared down on some of the issues with our NAFTA, and they've changed that to the USMCA or USMCA, and that for our Mexico trade and our Canadian trade, dairy, hogs especially, is vitally important, and that's taken a. Now we've got that one agreed upon, but we need to get it signed and get it going. Then the other big one is also China. China has an enormous appetite for our soybeans, enormous appetite for our other products, but soybeans being the main one. So as we hear all the time, you know, the talks are continuing. We hope that there's an agreement soon. But at the same time, you know, there's other industries that are within the trade agreements too, that it's not just ag. You know, there's steel tariffs, there's auto tariffs, there's other things that we're trying to get fixed. And, you know, I totally understand what's going on, you know, why we're doing it, but we need to get it done. I mean, farmers, ag business people want opportunity to sell their products. They want to produce, and, you know, the United States has proven time and time again that we are a viable place to buy food, feed, fiber for not only our country but other countries as well. And it's an enormous thing that we need to have to continue on.
Right. And so I'm not involved really in the agriculture industry. It's not been a part of my background, but from what I'm researching, it seems like everything going on with China, it's kind of been a tit for tat tariff situation. It seems like it's been going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's how I guess that's how a negotiator does their work. We have a really big support. We have a big support system, and I didn't mention it in my opening statements, but, you know, I'm also a member of I'm on the Ohio Farm Bureau Board of Trustees as well, and that they're working tirelessly with lawmakers in D.C. We're pork producers, and I've served on the Ohio Pork Council at one point, and locally, statewide, nationally, we have super support staff that, you know, can go to bat for us and help keep us updated. But yes, you're totally right, tit for tat. So hopefully we get something soon to kind of give everybody a little bit of a boost, because, you know, there's a lot of people have a lot invested in their operations and families and everything, and it's important. We need to get something taken care of.
Right. And I know we were talking about this before we started filming. In banking, we're seeing a side of it that's been really difficult because, like we were saying, we have federal regulations that we have to abide by, and North Valley really prides themselves on being, you know, helping the farming community here locally. And when things are getting bad like this, we're so tied up with federal regulations, it's hard for us to really be there and do what we would like to do as a human being when we're tied up. So I'm really glad we're talking about this, because I think we need to provide a little bit of clarity around this and tell people what's really going on, because it's really affecting our neighbors a lot.
It is affecting our neighbors a lot, and we were talking before. You know, I think a lot of people are in spots that they've not been, and it starts to affect people's moods. It starts to affect, you know, things at home. And I guess the thing that we've been and I've been guilty of this myself, kind of, you know, being closed off and not wanting to talk about it. But, you know, we have, and we've got a plan, and, you know, we're trying to work together and work with our suppliers and work with our feed representative, our seed representatives, and everything to try to be sure that we're doing everything possible that we can to, you know, lower our costs. But, you know, there's only so much you can do. And part of the reason that we kind of are here is, you know, farmers do an amazing job at producing, and we've produced ourselves into an excess. And with the trade things and everything going on, you know, it's been kind of a perfect storm. But, you know, I think, you know, we need to get something done. You know, we've got younger generations that want to come on, and hopefully this will get fixed eventually.
So here locally, I mean, we're obviously seeing an impact. We see the impact here at North Valley, because, I mean, we have people coming in that are having to sell equipment because they can't make their payments. And I've seen Julie Paxton, one of our ag lenders and our CLO, be really affected by this, because there's people who have 100-year-old farms that they're having to sell off because they can't they're not going to make it through, or they haven't made it through. And that's a reality right now. I mean, it's gotten to that point. So what do you think is happening here locally that's really impacting everybody the most?
Well, I think, and I don't want to pull it from local to back to the world part again, but that's where we are now.
Right.
I mean, we are in a world market. It's no longer down the street. It's no longer, I mean, there is still that market, but we've so much have relied on exports and other markets to help us with our product. I mean, we have people that want to farm. We have people that, want to carry on to the next generation. I think one of the big things right now that also is probably a local thing is, if this continues, I think the average age of a farmer now is like 55 or 60. If this continues, it could keep on getting worse, because we need to keep bringing young people in and making sure our markets are fixed. I don't know if that's tax breaks for young people, lower interest loans to be able to keep them going, keep their family going, and allow them back on the farm. And I think there's going to be a huge turnover over the next 10 to 15, probably 10 to 15 years of people, my dad's age and younger, of, new farmers, new operations. And I think diversity is probably going to be one of those things that can help us dig out. I mean, Muskingum County is probably one of the most diverse ag counties that there is. I mean, we have beef cattle, we have row crops, corn, soybeans, we have nursery crops, we have Christmas trees, we have produce farms, we have ag tourism. I mean, we have all kinds of things. And I think the biggest thing is I know things are tough, things will get better, I hope, for all of our sakes, because it starts to affect the banking industry, it starts to affect the equipment dealers, the feed dealers, all the support staff that we've grown to rely on. And the ag commodity business is the business that we don't we're not price makers, we're price takers.
Right.
And that's, I think being diverse hopefully will get us through. But we got to take care of our young people too, and be sure that we get some things fixed and going so they can have an opportunity to farm.
Right. And that's true, because next gen farming is so important. I mean, without it.
I had the chance. I hope my kids have the chance, and I have many friends that have had the chances. And it's one of those big things that we talk about in Farm Bureau, especially, is the Farm Bureau's young ag professional group is enormous. They have a huge conference every year, and those are not only our next group of farmers, next group of producers, but maybe our next vets, and also our next farm bank. Just it's diverse. It's
Right.
diverse, and we need to keep supporting them.
Yeah,
as much as possible.
Definitely. And going back to what you said about, we always at NVTV, we always try to talk about how it's impacting local, because our neighbors are, they're what's important to us. But I think it's okay to say that, what's happening globally is what's really affecting us here locally, because I think there's a little bit of a misconception of people tend to think of farming in what they see in children's books and things like that, where they have horses and cows and, everything. But a lot of people here locally, it's not just everything. We have people that are just focused on grain, and we have people that are just focused on soy. We have people that are, just doing beef. So it's not a farm that's just sustaining itself to feed just the family that lives there. I mean, they're living off of these crops being sold to China or wherever it is to have income to feed their families and things like that.
Well, in our case, most of the corn we raise is marketed through our own livestock. And that was, like you said, that was one of those things, years ago, that's what everybody did. Well, we still do that. It's just on it's on a different scale.
Right.
It's on a different scale now, and you know, we're not as diverse. I mean, we've kind of specialized and, you know, found the thing that we thought would give us the best chance to make a living, you know, going forward. And you know, it's been the hogs. You know, you're right, the specialty things. But you know, I think looking down the road, you know, there's a lot of different things on the horizon that we may need to look at raising, whether it's a niche thing with home raised freezer beef or home raised pork marketed to, you know, and there's a lot of that goes on. And what we do is not that, but you know, somebody that wants to fix a niche for their own operation, that's good. I mean, we need all facets of ag to work together. Not even work together, but we need all facets of ag, because, you know, some people want to go in the grocery store and buy what's there, and they are fine with that. Some people want to go buy something from someone and take it and put it in their freezer, and that's what it is. And that's all. It's all okay. It's all okay. But I think if there's one thing that I think will get us through and hopefully keep some young people on the farm, or keep farms like ours maybe something different to keep us in business, is a niche, is diversity, whatever that may be.
Right. So do you think diversity can help some of the farms that might be struggling right now?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. I think one of the things that I think that I've, you know, been taught or have watched is, you know, my dad was always involved. My mom was always involved. She taught school for years, but she also did other things. My wife's involved. I guess if there's something that I could say that maybe would help, farmers are 1% of the population. So we need to be loud. We don't need to be obnoxious, but we need to stick together. We need to work together. I mean, we need to be involved. We need to be involved in Ohio Farm Bureau, Ohio Pork Council, Ohio Corn, the Dairy Association. I mean, we need to be involved. We need for people to know that they need to hear us. You know, the things that you guys are doing with, you know, these videos are, you know, I love this opportunity to be able to come and talk and put this stuff out there, because sometimes it's not easy to talk about. You know, there's, you know, when people have so much invested in their operations and they want to provide for their family, you know, when it gets tough, it gets tough. And, you know, I think we all need to stick together and be involved and let people hear our struggles, because ag's been good. I mean, we're in a time now where it's not so good, but it has been really good. So it will get better. It always does. And we just have to have faith that it will.
Right. Weather the storm right now.
Weather the storm.
Right. And that's why it's important to us to really do this video. Like I said, is because there's not a lot that we can do as a bank. But I know when we talked to our ag lenders about, we wanted to do this, and they said it's a difficult topic because things are so bad right now. And it was there was a lot of back and forth. Should we do this or should we not? Because it's a hard thing to talk about right now, especially with the people who can't sustain their farms because they don't have the money coming in. And there's people who are losing their farms right now, and their farms that, like I said, have been in their family for decades and decades, and they're not gonna weather the storm, like we said. So yeah, this is kind of our little way of trying to start the conversation, start letting people, like we said, that aren't involved in agriculture know what's going on. So what else can we do to make a change for those of us like me, or other people that might be watching that aren't involved?
Yeah, I don't want to be at a loss for words, but I guess, if we want to get down and dirty on numbers, that's the first thing you as a lender and the people that we worked on lending is, you got to know where you are. You have to know your numbers. I mean, you can't let these decisions be. There's a lot of emotion involved with these, but at the same time, it's got to come down to financial things. I mean, we have these conversations ourselves. Again, I think, having an open dialogue with your people, your people being your bankers, your equipment people, your feed people, your support people, got to have these conversations. And we got to stay involved. We have to stay involved politically. I mean, I know sometimes that's a hard thing to imagine, but we have got to stay involved politically, locally. We've got to keep on. I feel like I keep coming back to the same thing, as far as being involved. But I think to make a change, we need for people to know outside of ag, our state representatives, our state senators, our U.S. senators and representatives that, hey, they need to keep hearing it. They want to hear it, and we've got to keep on putting it out there.
So one thing we hear a lot that we are told can help is to buy local. Does that really make a difference? Because yes, I can go to the store and I can buy beef there, but if I contact a farmer and I want to buy from them, does that actually make a difference?
I think it does, it doesn't even have to. I mean, it could be beef, it could be pork, it could be when you go on a vacation and you want to get away. Maybe you do one of the local ag tourism things too. Yes, it does help. The farmers markets, even we'll sell half a hog or a whole hog off the farm as well, and it's one of those value-added things that. It's one of those things that we can make the price a little bit versus taking the price if we haven't, done a good job of marketing on our commodity production. We have a local farmers market, all those things. We have several local meat packing plants that are there to, another piece of a support staff that, yeah, it definitely would help to go and buy locally from a farmer if that's the way you want to do it. And then, like you said, there's still the people that are fine with going to the grocery store and finding bacon or a steak or a pork chop, and they're fine with that. So again, I think it's like I said, one of the things I said before, ag in Muskingum County is very diverse. There's a lot of different types of operations. Anything that we can do to support those local operations, big or small, ag tourism or the guys selling flowers down the street, those are all the things that we should be doing to kind of help out locally as much as we can.
So if somebody wants to find a farmer to buy meat off of, who would they call?
They could probably call one of the local meat processors, and they would put them in contact with something. Word of mouth. If somebody wants something, they could call one of those. They'll have to set up a time and everything, but I think that would be the place to start. Sometimes Facebook, there's things on there as far as people wanting to sell stuff off the farm. We have people call all the time just because they drive by and say, "Hey, could I buy a pig to take to one of the meat places?" And we've done it. So, everything helps. Every little thing helps. Again, I don't want to paint a awful light on things because I think most people would say that ag has been very good to them. It's still a very noble profession, but being a noble profession doesn't always pay the bills. And but I think we'll get better. I think we'll get some things fixed, and we'll move on, and we'll have a good next few years, I hope.
Well, Matt, thanks for sitting down with us today. That was a lot of good information, and hopefully we can provide a little bit of clarity around what's going on. This isn't the only interview we're going to be doing to talk about what's going on in agriculture right now, so keep watching. You're going to be seeing a little bit more. We definitely want to talk about what's going on with dairy, a little bit about what's happening there. So something else we need to talk about. So keep watching. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in this week. Keep watching a little longer. You're going to see a list of places you can buy some local beef, poultry, pork. That way we can try to keep everything local. Maybe we can help out a little bit. Again, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.